Greetings from Act Now. I guess it was maybe 2.5 years ago on my other channel, Thuranki Ramachuraka. Somebody asked me to give an esoteric point of view about nourishment. And I ended up creating a playlist having to do with food and nourishment, exoteric and esoteric points of view. And there's something I want to add now. It just occurred to me. When it comes to food preparations, recipes, tastes, appetites, and hunger, if we gear things up in our lives to move past cooking, buying food and preparing food in accordance with our tastes and appetites, if we get past that, simply by eating in accordance with our hunger, this can take some practice, but you get to a certain point and you don't really have to worry about recipes anymore. I don't think in terms of recipes. I don't, and I think it's, myself, I think it's a little strange, the whole idea of recipes. By now, I just think that's kind of strange. And when I think of a restaurant that has a menu, well, yeah, how else are you going to know what to order? At least that's what a person might think. If you don't have specific dishes, preparations with names that are either recognizable because they're somewhat universal in the culture, or that a restaurant's chef has contrived on his own, if he's daring to come up with a new recipe all by himself and create one that's unique to that restaurant, like their signature dish. Whoa. A person has to be really good to do that, huh? Yeah, well, I say baloney. That's all. All that kind of thinking is brainwashing. Consciousness hijacking. Social institutions, socialization, consciousness hijacking from long back in our lives. Being taught that you have to cook in accordance with recipes, you have to have specific dishes, restaurants have to have specific whatevers. Yeah. Look, I just made a meal for myself. I don't think in terms of recipes. When I start out to make a meal, I don't even think about what I'm going to prepare. I don't have a specific appetite. You know, I'm going to make a burger. I got to have a burger. Or a boyget. Cheeboyget. Or, boy, I could sure go for a Caesar salad. I want Caesar salad. No, I don't think like that. I don't think, boy, I could sure use that seafood Neptune, or whatever, no. Or that, whatever. Cheese ravioli scrignoli. I'll have that. Whatever that is. Do you make cheese ravioli scrignoli with American cheese or cheddar? I forget. Which is it? I gotta know which one it is, because I love that dish. I just can't remember the recipe. Maybe my Aunt Doris knows it. I should call her up, because I could sure eat some of that right now. I'm hungry for that. I don't think that way. And I'm encouraging you, if you're truly interested in actual nourishment, eating in accordance with the way it's meant to be, before all the social programming about food, then pay attention here. Here's what I did just now. Here's an example. My refrigerator now, you see, is full, packed packed full of vegetables and fruits. It is. It is. I mean, I have a bowl full of wheatgrass clippings in there. I grow wheatgrass in my windowsill. When it gets to be about that high, I trim it down to about that high, and I put it in a bowl. I grow wheatgrass, and then when I feel like it, I reach in there and I grab a handful and I chew on it and I swallow the juice and spit out the fiber. Fiber. I have that. What else do I have? I have ginger root in there, to throw into my vegetable juicer whenever I juice up carrots. I have about 5-pound bags of carrots in there for my juicer. I have a bag of fresh parsley for in my juicer. I have a shitload of celery that I really need to get to juicing, or cut it up and put it in a container of water to keep it fresh. I have cabbage, cauliflower, red beets in there, various different colors of squashes, zucchini, another kind of squash. I have that. I have onions. What more? Various different stalk colors of Swiss chard. I have the red, I have the orange, I have some yellow. I have big collared green leaves, fresh, from the farm. What else? What else do I have? My word. I have a lot more. I can barely remember it all. Oh, yeah. 3 or 4 different colors of sweet bell peppers. There's more. There's definitely more. Tomatoes. A lot of tomatoes. Fresh tomatoes. And you know what? I didn't pay. I paid for almost none of it. And it's all good. I go to a local farm stand that, you don't have to meet any requirements to go there. It's for people who know about it. It's kind of like it's a branch of a local food bank that people have to qualify for to go to the food bank. But you can go to this farm stand and not really be qualified for the food bank. But you largely don't know about the farm stand unless you know about the food bank. But anybody can go to the food bank. You can go 3 times a week. Take as much as you want. When I go there, I only go once a week in large watermelons, pumpkins, eggplant. I have these things too. Cantaloupe. What else? Spaghetti squash. I have a lot of stuff, man. I get like 50 to 60 pounds. Corn. Although all corn is definitely genetically modified. I don't know. A lot of this stuff is not much you can do about that unless you get it from a local farmer who's growing it organically. And a lot of this stuff at the farm stand, I think, is coming from local farmers, some of whom are growing their stuff with genetic modified foods. Food awareness. In other words, they are getting organic seeds that aren't genetically modified. And then some of their food is donated to this farm stand. Well, I get like 50 or 60 pounds of this stuff at no cost, and I can pick that much up 3 days a week if I want. I could get like 150, 160, 200 pounds of food. Fresh fruits and vegetables. Oh, yeah, well, then there are the fruits, too. Bananas, peaches, nectarines, what else? Plums. At no cost. All right, so my refrigerator's full. So I'm thinking, all right, I'm hungry. What am I going to put in here? I got a big 14-inch cast iron frying pan with a glass top lid. A glass lid. All right. First, I put in some first cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil to lubricate it all. I put that in there. When that got hot, I cut up a lot of cauliflower and I stuck in there. And I kept going. What else did I throw in? Oh, man. After that, I can't remember it all. I was looking in the refrigerator and thinking, okay, what next? What next? What next? What is my body telling me? All right, I'm not thinking in terms of a recipe or I have a taste for this or a taste for that. I looked at the frying pan, I saw the cauliflower in there, and I thought, what next? Maybe at this point I thought, oh, what color would look nice on there? I don't know. Oh yeah, I got out one of those yellow squash. Not exactly a yellow summer squash, but it was more orange. Not sure exactly what it was. Some kind of, like a summery looking squash. But anyway, I got it out and I cut it into thin slices. Yeah, and I threw them on there. I was kind of standing back and tossing them like I'm at a like I'm at the local carnival, and I'm throwing like a ring toss, trying to get the little rings on bottles to win a prize, and I'm standing there tossing them in there, seeing if I can cover the cauliflower with these rings or these circles of squash. And then what did I do after that? I added something. Oh yeah, some eggplant. I cut that into kind of like little strips. I tossed them on there. Oh, and then I got out a red beet. I thought, that could use some red beet. Man, I'm gonna build something really cool here. This could turn out pretty good. I kept on going. When I got about halfway up, this frying pan is about that deep. When I got about half full, all the way across the whole 14 inches, at that point, I forget what I threw on there. Oh yeah, I got out tomatoes. I picked 4 big tomatoes that needed to be eaten. By the way, one of them was still yellow. It wasn't green, it was yellow. It wasn't ripe at all. But it was starting to get a little soft. In other words, it was never going to ripen. Well, if you have an unripe tomato, a non-red tomato, you can cook it and it'll be fine. Like fried tomatoes, fried green tomatoes, except this was a yellow tomato. Well, I cut it into slices and I threw it on there. And then I got some red tomatoes that needed to be eaten. I threw them on there too. Now, they were making a lot of juice, okay? At that point, I put a heck of a lot of basil on top of those tomatoes. Dried basil. I put that on there because it just occurred to me, hey, I have basil, and basil is really nice with tomatoes, so I put that on there. And then I got out some masala, a combination of herbs, powdered herbs or spices, whatever, that I got at an Indian store or a South Asian Indian store, some kind of a masala combination or whatever that is, I put a bunch of that on there, and it immediately started to soak up a lot of the oil and the tomato juice. So now that flavor was going to soak all the way down through everything. What else did I stick on there? Oh, a little bit of sea salt right on there. Everything. And a dash of cayenne pepper. Then here's what I did. I put the lid on for a little while. Just a little while. Until it started to look like it was glowing. And I took the lid back off. I threw on 4 pieces of cheese. Now, I don't go with cheese too much, but in this case, I did. Just slices, 4 slices. I thought, man, that's going to add some flavor a little bit. And I'll go with some cheese for a change. Although cheese does hide a lot of radioactive particles. Which is it? Strontium? Collects in cow's milk? I forget which one it is. Strontium, perhaps? Anyway. I put in some of that, some cheese, and then I put in some other things. I can't remember it all, folks. Can't remember it all. But I topped it off with leaves of collard. Big, look like elephant ears on there, right? And then Swiss chard. Swiss chard, big, bright, red-veined, brilliant green leaves on top. Now this thing, like I said, my frying pan is about that deep. And it was heaped up. This food was heaped up over that so that my globe, convex, anyway, shaped glass lid just covered the whole thing. And I let it sit there for a couple of more minutes. Oh, I added a little water to get some steam rolling in there and to put the lid on. And I got to tell you, see, this was not a recipe at all. But I knew, this is my point, I knew that this was going to taste exquisite. Now I have a roommate. I served this up for both she and I. And we both just were blown away by how good this tasted. It was exceptional. It was exceptional. It really was. I've eaten in a lot of restaurants around the country and in other countries of all different social ranks and price ranges. I'll tell you the truth, and the same with my roommate. We both agreed that it would be pretty hard to find a dish anywhere being served up at a rather high price, any price, that would taste better than this. It was just exquisite. And yet, it was just all contrived on the spot from what was available. That had cost nothing, except for the olive oil. Even the cheese had come for free. All right? The only things that cost were the herbs, right, the herbs did, and the olive oil. And the olive oil at that same Asian store was, a big can, I think it's a 2-gallon can, a big rectangular type cans. It might be 2 gallons or is that a 1-gallon can? $17. You go to a normal grocery store and you find first cold pressed extra virgin olive oil in a bottle that's barely, it's probably more like half a quart. Okay? $12, $15. $17 got me a gallon can of the best olive oil there is. Alright. My main point is, I was not listening to anything like an appetite, particular tastes, particular likes. I was hungry, and I was responding to natural hunger and letting my body tell me how to do this. And letting my body guide my mind in preparing this without giving it any forethought at all, really. Just listening to what I felt was the right way to put it together in accordance with, without even thinking this far into it though. But upon looking back, or analyzing it a little bit, this was happening in accordance with what my body was letting my mind know it needs right now. Putting it together in that fashion. And of course, it's going to taste perfect when done that way. Because it's going to suit the body's needs at the moment. This is eating in response to true hunger. Rather than recipes, appetites, likes, menus, and so forth. All of which boil down to, whether or not you agree, I don't care, boils down to consciousness hijacking via social programming about food. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about response to actual hunger. Such that if one were to go to a restaurant and our culture were focused when it comes to food and nourishment, our culture still maintain allegiance to natural hunger, a restaurant would then put together, sell dinners that were designed by the customer right then. And instead of looking at the menu and ordering, I don't know, what would it be? Pasta Alfredo or seafood Neptune or Caesar salad or whatever. No, the menu would tell you what foods they have. See, hamburger is not a food. Caesar salad is not a food. Lettuce, romaine lettuce is a food. A peach is a food. A collard green is a food. A red beet is a food. All right? But you start putting them together in combinations and giving those combinations a name. That name does not refer to a food. It refers to a recipe, let's say, that appeals to certain people's appetites for recipes rather than food. So a restaurant, in this way of thinking that I'm getting at here, would list what foods they have. And then allow you to pick and choose, from what your body is telling you appeals to it most right now. In accordance with hunger. And you would give the instruction on how you would like this to be prepared for you and what combinations. And, of course, nothing too complex. Just kind of keep it simple. And then, they would come up with a price and you would say, okay, that sounds good. Yep. It's worth that to me. Yep. And then out it would come. And it would probably always taste right. Why wouldn't it? It's what your body needs right now. Given what's available. From what's available. Just like when I opened up my refrigerator, I looked at what's available. And I just started in. I didn't throw in a little of everything. No. I picked and chose what seemed right at the moment. Every time I do this, it's a little different. And it tastes a little different. But it always tastes just right. So there. Be well from Act Now. Have a good day.